Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. I'm Kayode Okikelu. First, the highlights. Lagos State Deputy Governor Dr. Bafemi Hamzat says that data shows that the election in the state was a great one. Also reacts to controversial statements made by Musiliu Akinsanya, also known as MC Oluomo. A supplementary election is the focus now as political maneuverings resume, with INEC's announcement to hold the governorship elections to be run in Adamawa, Egbe, and assembly elections in other states on April the 15th. Plus, protests at the National Assembly gate as ex-Niger Delta agitators demand the sacking of the interim administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program and payment of their allowances. Welcome to the program once again. The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, has been speaking on the recent election conducted in the state, describing it as a great one. That's in spite of the challenges of violence and voter intimidation in some polling units. The Deputy Governor, who was a guest on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily, based his evaluation on the post-election data, which showed that 349 polling units out of the 13,325 polling units in Lagos State, that's about 2.6%, witnessed one form of violence or the other. Well, Dr. Hamzat also addressed allegations of ethnic profiling and voter intimidation against Musiliu Akinsanya, better known as MC Oluomo, who is a chairman of the Lagos State Parks Management Committee. The Deputy Governor asked that the fact of the video be examined, and if Mr. Akinsanya is found to have broken the law, he should be prosecuted.
And I think it's very unkind. Very, very unkind for Nigerians. So Lagos has 13,325 polling units. Alimosho, for example, has 1,545. Only 3 violence were recorded. 3 out of 1,545. The whole of Lagos, 349 polling units had issues with violence, disruption. 349 out of 13,325. So if you figure that out, that's 1%. So we all went to school. You don't get A if you don't get 100% in order to get A. In case of MC Oluomo, he has come out to say that he was actually referring to one woman that is Mama Chinedu or something like that. So there is a video that shows that, and that woman said, well, he was talking to me, and we've been friends, or he's been my customer for years, that he was talking to her. So, so I don't know. I don't know the facts. So, but people should examine the facts, and if in truth he has broken the law, of course he must pay for it.
Well, you can get more of that interview on our website, channelstv.com, and of course on our YouTube channel. Well, let's head over to the nation's capital, Abuja now, where some Niger Delta ex-agitators have staged a protest to the National Assembly to demand the payment of their monthly stipends. The protesters, under the auspices of Coalition of Niger Delta ex-agitators, say 7,000 ex-agitators have not been paid their allowances for 6 months. But they're calling for the immediate sack of the current interim administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, retired Major General Barry Teriye Dioma. Now, yesterday's announcement by INEC to hold supplementary elections on April the 15th may have kick-started fresh political activities in states where the elections will be holding. Take Adamawa State, for example, where the People's Democratic Party, PDP, says that it has credible evidence that there is a fresh plot by the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, to compromise officials of INEC in the states to alter and cancel already declared results in local government areas where elections have been concluded and declared. The National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Debo Olugunagba, says that this is part of APC's plot to facilitate the manipulation of the already declared results in favor of the APC candidate against the expressed will of the people of the state.
It has come to the knowledge of our party that the APC and its candidates having realized that they cannot defeat Governor Fintiri in the 69 polling units, given his popularity and determination of the people, are now putting pressure on INEC to alter already collated and declared results in other polling units where no cases of malpractice or disruption of election took place. The PDP allows the people of Adamawa State of fresh plots by the APC. It hires agent and compromised staff of INEC to alter and cancel the already declared results in 21 local government areas where elections have been concluded and declared. We don't just wake up one morning and begin to respond to situation. When we get those information, we'll consider that. And that the NWC will do that. That's what we do. We don't rush into judgment. We are not preemptive. We look at the documents. There's a release by the chairman. There's his purported letter right there. We look at it. And that's what organization that has system do. So it's not, I won't come here and give you half truth. So you give me the opportunity of reviewing that and come back to you when the party takes a position.
Oh, that's PDP National Publicity Secretary also speaking on the suspension of the national chairman by his ward in Benue State. Well, staying with the Adamawa supplementary election, the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN Adamawa State Chapter, Bishop Dami Mamza, is encouraging the people of the state to renew their confidence in INEC's independence and transparency ahead of the rerun governorship election. Well, the clergy made this appeal during a media briefing in Yola, the state capital, where he appeals to politicians to be civil to enable an atmosphere of tolerance and respect to flourish during the rerun elections. Bishop Dami urges citizens of the state, especially community and religious leaders, as well as the youths, to remain law-abiding.
While we are concerned about some of the irregularities noticed in the collation and tabulation of results during the March 18 polls in the state, let us not forget that both INEC, we the electorates, members of diplomatic community, local, national and international observers, law enforcement agencies and the media are all key stakeholders in whatever it takes to have good, fair, credible and peaceful election. No one should therefore infringe on the independence of INEC, as this will pose a risk to public safety. We therefore call on all to remain calm and to renew their confidence on INEC, independence and professionalism for openness, transparency and fairness in handling of the votes of the electorate as we set to go for a rerun.
So all eyes on Adamawa and Kebbi states for the supplementary governorship elections holding in a matter of weeks, and rightfully so. But the big question is, what must be done if INEC and other election stakeholders must deliver an election that will be free, fair, and credible? Well, let's speak to our guest on the program this afternoon. Mr. Austin Egbe is an election analyst, and he joins us live from our Abuja studio this afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Egbe, and thank you for joining us on Lunchtime Politics.
Good afternoon, and nice to be here.
Well, great to have you. So let's begin with yesterday's announcement, and it's coming about a week after the elections were declared inconclusive, particularly in Kebbi and Adamawa states. That's for the governorship elections, but for the National Assembly elections, almost a month or thereabouts after it was declared inconclusive during the first time out after February 25th. And I just wonder for you, did this take too long, especially for the voters and Nigerians at large who are waiting to see how those states will vote, how, you know, the constituencies will vote as well?
Again, thanks. I'm not sure it came too long because I needed to do a review. Taking a decision on supplementary elections is a big decision that needs to be made. You know that INEC does have the power right now to review election results before making a formal stand. So if there are complaints from electoral processes, INEC does have the window to review. So if INEC had reviewed those results and probably see there was no need for supplementary election, you would have seen that INEC would have come back to say, well, we are not going ahead with supplementary election, we want to decide. And you saw that happen in Benue. After the review of those results, INEC came back, turned around, and people thought people thought something else has happened. Nothing has happened. Just that the result had been reviewed, looking at the PVC collected per polling unit across the state, then you cannot truly justify that the places where a poll did not hold is sufficient enough to determine the outcome of the elections. And you see that, like in Adamawa, it's very close to call. Very close to call, and you need to be very sure that the margin of difference is enough to return to polling unit. Otherwise, you know, the cost of running a rerun election or a supplementary election is an uphill task, and that uphill task, we just hope that the election go down very well. But again, to just answer your question directly, it's not too long.
Well, for some politicians, they have said that they noticed what they believe is some sort of inconsistency in the ways the guidelines were applied by the INEC officials across states. I mean, for some, they expected that this result would be called, but in INEC's wisdom, having looked at all the facts available to it, they said, well, this is inconclusive and we'll have a supplementary election. Did you have those concerns as well? Did you see any sort of inconsistency across board in the way those guidelines were applied? Yes,
I think we've raised the issue with Adamawa specifically. Adamawa was the only state, apparently the only state where electoral officials had to revert to the results on the IRF to then do a tabulation before taking a decision. Whereas at the national election, at the presidential election, you saw parties show up at the conference center, in the International Conference Center, requesting that the INEC chair does review and make certain comment about the negligence or thereabout with the non-upload of results on the IRF. But consistently, INEC chair technically never responded to their question until the elections were declared. But here you are in Adamawa, when there were conflicts. The process was suspended, was put on hold, and the review was done. And that's the power of the commission. So when there are those kind of complaints, INEC needed to do the needful. And I think that Adamawa was unique, maybe because of the flag that went on ahead before time, that the APC was leading and was winning. There was some kind of euphoria on the social media. Many people told me it was the social media results, even though we are told consistently that INEC does have the power. The only commission, the only institution that does have the power to announce results. But results were announced on the social media, and a number of people, including most of us in the civil society, actually got a bit sentimental because it was the first time. It would be really very interesting to see a woman being governor of a state, and not just of a state in the south, a state of a northern state, northeast for that matter. And you want to forget whatever has happened in the electoral process and just forget where you are without thinking about the processes and all of that. And then, before we knew what was happening, we said, no, this result that was flying on the social media was not correct. And soon we realized INEC did the right thing by going on to the original result. When I say original, every election takes place at the polling unit. If you want to get the real result of any intervention, it is a polling unit result. And those results were uploaded on the IRF, and you can truly download them and recompute, and then you have a way out. Usually what politicians do is that once processes are concluded at the polling unit, between the polling unit and the word collation, some invisible hand of demand and supply attack the results, and then pieces of result sheets are changed, and before you know what's happening, party with 10 becomes, they add 2 in front or add 1 in front, become 100 or 1,000, and then they tell you if you don't agree, you go to court. That's the process, but the real result is on the IRF. And if you do proper computation, you will get the actual results.
And this dovetails into my final question. We have to wind down in a moment. What lessons must we learn from the last time out if we must have it better for this coming elections? Bear in mind that some people may have lost confidence. You heard the clergy in Adamawa asking people to, still keep that confidence in INEC's independence and capability to handle this election. So what must we do right? If you were to give us 2 things we must do right as INEC, as stakeholders, as the people, what are those things? For the supplementary election, you are saying? Yes, for the supplementary elections on April the 15th.
Okay. two good things. The voter is a king. You have the responsibility to decide who governs your state. If you pull out from that decision processes, you have no responsibility to complain in the future. It's your right. It's within your power. You can exercise it quickly. Second is that INEC must do the needful by being deliberately transparent. Let me use that word. And possibly, INEC should invite the international community to observe the processes. We must avoid what happened in the Osun 2018 election where, due to the runoff, there was a lot of violence negotiation in those 7 polling units that took place. We must not allow that to happen in this supplementary election because it's almost like a do-or-die final circle. We must remove that do-or-die out of it and go into the election with the highest level of transparency and integrity and upload results at the polling unit so the world can truly see the transparency. I think everybody and everyone around the globe, all eyes, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, all eyes is on Adamawa and Kebbi State. Kebbi, Adamawa, 2 states that already have some level of violence concern. We must not allow the elections to further degenerate, to contribute to the kind of conflict that we may not be able to solve. So INEC does have a responsibility to know that these are conflict-prone locations, and we must do the needful to ensure that everybody come out from that election happy. Even when you lose in that election, you'll be so excited that you lost gallantly.
Very important point there. Great place to anchor. Mr. Austin Egbe is an election analyst joining us live from our Abuja studios. Thank you so much for your time on Lunchtime Politics, sir.
Thank you indeed.
Well, we'll take a break now. When we return, we have live updates on the political atmosphere in one of the states where the supplementary election will be holding. Our correspondent in Adamawa State joins us in a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Let's bring you more reactions to the recently conducted governorship elections. This time, the Rivers State candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Tony Cole, says all his hopes were dashed with the conduct and the outcome of the election. Mr. Cole, who is not new to the governorship race, in some sense condemned the violence which led to death and what he described as a manipulation of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, and the process of uploading results. Mr. Tony Cole was a guest on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
To an extent, all 3 hopes were dashed. The BVAS did not work as it was sold to work. That then led to dashed hopes for a lot of people, which also then led to violence, especially in Rivers State, where I'm sure you know that we lost our DG in one of the local governments. We know 2 of my agents were directly killed, apart from the DG. And so those lives lost, it's a stain to us. And what happened in that instance was voter intimidation. People went out, they warned that anyone who is coming out, who is not coming out for PDP, would be killed, would be maimed, would be whipped. People were whipped and all of that. And that for me was a big stain. Should never have happened. So yes, BVAS in itself brought out the true number of accredited voters that we have in Nigeria. And that is a good thing. It's a positive thing that we can build on. The kidnap or hijack of polling units, entire polling units, happened as soon as the elections occurred. People had finished voting. In some cases, before the counting of the votes occurred, the police came, and this was shocking, because you had local government chairmen and councillors coming in their vans with the police and taking entire polling units away. And there was very little we could do. If we resisted that, then that would escalate violence, and there was nothing that we could do, because they came armed and all of that, and they carried them away, took them to unknown destinations, and the next thing we saw was that these results were uploaded. So what you then saw was that because the voting did not occur electronically, and the polling units, the BVAS, were not disabled as they said they would be disabled if you moved it from location, results were uploaded. And so at this point in time, what we need to do, moving forward in elections, is just take it all the way to the end. And let's try that aspect of it and see if that would work.
And now to not too far away, Edo State, the candidate of the Labour Party for Oredo East constituency in the March 18th Edo State House of Assembly elections, Peter Dahosa, has protested at the INEC Edo State headquarters in Benin City, the state capital, calling for an announcement of results which were declared inconclusive. Mr. Dahosa insists that the results from Orido East constituency were clearly in his favor before collation stopped, and insists that the electoral umpire is, according to him, dancing to the tune of Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki of the People's Democratic Party, who is from that constituency. But responding to the allegation, INEC spokesperson Timidi Wariowe maintains that the matter should be channeled to the appropriate quarters for resolution.
Around 8:30 p.m. in the evening, when we now brought all the results down to Rokpota Hall for the final collation or the final form, we were surprised that a gang of hoodlums led by one of the state executives to the government came to Rokpota Hall with guns, machetes, marijuana, just name it, Igbo, Kaikai, Pawai, cigar. They come inside the collation center, inside the collation hall. They were now forcing the INEC officials to change the figures to their own, which they brought. The INEC officials refused. That was the beginning. One from Ward 5, the governor is from Ward 4. But what I do believe is that because of ego defense, he is saying that he can't lose Ward 4 because that is where he comes from. However, he got Ward 4. But now he extended it to other parts of Oredo East wards that he must win it at all costs.
You are telling the whole world to get.
He never won. Yes. His party never won. A Labour Party won, and I am the grassroots candidate. Yes. And I won, they should give my mandate.
The issues we have raised are very genuine and germane, in the sense that you have checked the results at the IREF. Possibly you also have the unit results. These are results that you have to hold firmly for you to tender at any point. Maybe at the tribunal. Maybe at the tribunal, you know, when the matter goes to tribunal. I cannot take a decision here, or the resident electoral commissioner or INEC Edo State here cannot take any decision. Whatever you have written to us here will be forwarded to INEC headquarters for review, and whatever decision INEC headquarters comes up with, that is what we are going to uphold.
Well, let's bring you more stories now. Ahead of the April 15th supplementary election in Adamawa State, the Jamia Matan Arewa, it's a foremost women's social cultural organization in northern Nigeria, has raised the alarm over alleged plans by the male-dominated ruling class in the state to marginalize the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Aisha Binani, on the basis of her gender. Addressing a news conference in Kaduna State, the president of the association, Mrs. Rabi Salawa, warns that Senator Binani should not be marginalized or discriminated against because of her gender. She also calls on Adamawa people, especially women, to come out en masse and vote for Senator Binani as the first female governor of the state, and in the north in general, adding that the women will no longer watch the political environment being dominated by men alone. And meanwhile, in what seems like a last-minute move to avert the planned nationwide strike and picketing of all branches of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, by the NLC, the Minister of Labour and Employment held a closed-door meeting with the leadership of the Labour Congress and the Governor of the Central Bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, in Abuja. Well, a statement signed by the Director of Public Relations Unit of the Ministry notes that the Minister invited the leadership of the NLC and the CBN Governor to avert the planned strike by the labor movement in protest against naira scarcity, and the CBN governor told the meeting that as soon as the Apex Bank received the letter from the NLC, it took steps to address the situation, just such as the disbursement of money to deposit money banks under strict supervision so as to address the problem of naira scarcity in the country. And just moments ago, the Minister of Labour says that he's optimistic that there will be no strike. He was speaking at the 60th Ministerial Weekly Briefing, where he reminded the meeting that the two parties had been summoned yesterday, and the union affirmed that there's been a reprieve on the cash crunch situation. And on a sad note, the candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, in the just concluded Idato North and South Federal Constituency election, and the current lawmaker representing Idato North in the Imo State House of Assembly, Honorable Arthur Egbe, has passed on. For confirming the unfortunate incident in a statement issued in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Honorable Emeka Nduka, says the lawmaker died after a brief illness in his home in Lagos State. The late Honorable Egbe was a high-ranking member in the Imo State House of Assembly, having been elected in 2015 and gaining re-election in 2019. He was a one-time chief whip of the Imo State House of Assembly. Well, that's the program for today, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can always catch up on all other political stories and breaking news on our website, channelstv.com, and across all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Well, now you've been served. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Kayode Okikele. Goodbye.